Jungkook, as the head of one of the most powerful crime families in the city, he was used to having everything under control, but tonight was different. He walked into his mansion at 11 p.m. expecting to see the lights on and hear the faint sounds of YN's favorite late-night cooking show. Instead, he was greeted with silence and darkness. The silence was unsettling. You always waited up for him, no matter how late. The warm welcome he received when he got home was one of the few things that kept him grounded in his dangerous world, but now the absence of your presence made his stomach churn. He quickly turned on the lights and checked every room, but there was no sign of you. Jungkook's heart raced, a feeling he hadn't experienced. Where could you be? Then he immediately called one of his guards. Where is Wine? He demanded. Sir, we haven't seen ma'am since this afternoon. She went out without the security guards. Jungkook yelled at him in anger. He knew he had enemies, but the thought he had taken every precaution to keep you safe. He quickly dialed to his most trusted men, ordering them to search the city. Check everywhere. I want eyes on every street, every alley, every corner. Find her. Hours passed with no word. Jungkook sat in the living room, his head in his hands, trying to piece together what might have happened. He couldn't lose you. You were the one good thing in his life, the light that kept him from descending into complete darkness. Without you, he was nothing more than a ruthless mob boss, feared and hated by everyone. Jungkook dialed to your number many times, but you weren't picking up the calls. Each missed call brought back a tidal wave of anxiety. He paced around the living room, his footsteps echoing against the hardwood floors. It was around 12 a.m. when the front door finally creaked open. You walked in quietly, careful to not disturb anyone, but the moment you turned on the lights, Jungkook was there. He was standing at the edge of the hallway, his eyes narrowed and his jaw clenched. Where the hell have you been? His voice louder than he intended. You looked up, surprised by his anger. I was at my friend's house, Jungkook. Why are you yelling? Why didn't you pick up your phone? I called you a dozen times. You didn't think to tell me where you were? You frowned, his tone starting to get on your nerves. My phone isn't silent, and I left a message with one of your guards before I left. Didn't he tell you? Jungkook's eyes flashed with anger. No, he didn't. You should have told me yourself. Jungkook, I'm sorry, but I didn't think it would be a big deal. I just went to my friend's home, and I left a message. You don't understand. I thought something happened to you. I had everyone out looking at you. Jungkook, you are overreacting. You replied trying to stay calm. I was gone for a couple of hours. I didn't realize it would cause such a commotion. Overreacting? He shouted back. You know what I deal with every day. I can't afford to take chances with your safety. You folded your arms, feeling the heat rising in your cheeks. And I can't live my life in constant fear of what might happen, Jungkook. I can't always be on a leash. The argument grew heated, both of you raising your voices. I'm not a child, Jungkook. I can take care of myself. Clearly you can't. Your anger boiled over. I'm not going to live my life answering to you every minute of the day. I can't always under your security watch. I need some freedom, Jungkook. Freedom, you know what freedom gets you in my world? It gets you killed. You took a deep breath, your chest heaving with anger and the sting of his words. I can't do this with you right now. You said, your voice shaking. You turned and stormed into the bedroom, slamming the door behind you. Inside the bedroom, you felt the hot tears pooling in your eyes. You refused to let them fall. Instead, you paced around, fists clenched, trying to calm yourself, the weight of Jungkook's world pressing down on you. Outside, Jungkook stood in the hallway, his fists clenched at his sides. He knew that this argument went too far. The silence from the other side of the door felt heavier than anything he had ever experienced. He sat leaning against the wall. The thought of losing you made him desperate, and desperation led to anger. Jungkook knew he needed to apologize to make things right. Jungkook took a deep breath, gathering the courage to face you. The hallway felt too cold, too empty without you by his side. He didn't want to leave things like this, with harsh words and anger happening between you. So he pushed the bedroom door, stepping inside as quietly as he could. You were lying on your side, your back is facing to the door. The room's dim light casting shadows on the wall, he could hear the soft sounds of your breathing. But he wasn't sure if you were asleep or just avoiding him. Either way, he knew he had to make things right. He walked over to the bed, slipping off his shoes and jacket, and climbed in beside you. For a moment, he just watched you. He knew he had hurt you, and that was the last thing he ever wanted to do. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have yelled at you like that, he whispered, his voice low but sincere. You didn't respond, keeping your back to him. Jungkook reached out tentatively, his hands resting on your shoulder. He could feel the tension in your muscles, the coldness in the air between you. He hated this distance, this feeling of being on opposite sides. He leaned in closer, his lips brushing against your shoulder. Please, Ryan, I'm really sorry. I was scared. I know I overreacted, but it's because I can't stand the thought of anything happening to you. His kisses trailed up your shoulder to your neck, each one a silent plea of forgiveness. He hoped you could feel the sincerity in his touch, the love he had for you despite his flaws. Jungkook wasn't used to apologizing, but for you he would do anything. You turned towards Jungkook, feeling the weight of his arms around you and the warmth of his breath against your skin. The argument had left a heavy atmosphere between you two, but these gentle kisses and sincere apology were slowly breaking through the tension. I'm sorry to Jungkook, you whispered, tracing your fingers along the curve of his shoulder. I should have answered your calls or let you know where I was. I didn't mean to worry you. He nodded, his eyes holding yours with an intensity that made your heart skip a beat. I was just too scared, Ryan. When I got home and you weren't here, I thought the worst. It's hard for me not to think like that. You signed, understanding the source of his fear. Jungkook's world was dark, filled with risks that most people couldn't imagine. He had built his life on control and strength, and when he couldn't find you, it felt like everything was spiraling out of control. I know, Jungkook, you reply, touching his cheek, but I don't want to feel like I'm being suffocated. I need to live my life like others do. I need you to understand that. He closed his eyes for a moment, leaning into your touch. I get it. I will do better. I need you to be safe. You are everything to me, Wyan, and I love you. I don't ever want to fight like this again. Saying that, he leaned in to kiss you gently on lips. He kissed you again, this time with more warmth, more tenderness. You wrapped your arms around him, holding him close. I love you too. He pulled you closer. Just stay with me and we'll figure it out together. Your heart softened at his words and you leaned in to kiss him gently. It was a kiss that spoke of understanding, of forgiveness, and the deep bond you shared. You know, Jungkook's world was complicated and you had willingly stepped into it. But that doesn't mean you couldn't have a life of your own. I will be more careful, you promised, and I will make sure to keep my phone on, okay? No more disappearing acts. Jungkook smiled, his expression easing as he pulled you closer. As you held each other, the warmth returned to the room, the closeness replacing the earlier coldness. Love had a way of finding a path, even through the toughest of arguments.